Good afternoon. My name is David Dirks. I'm Vice President of Marketing for Hudson Valley Credit Union. We're going to give folks maybe a minute or so just to keep logging in. We know people come on and then there's just a little bit of a rush there. So we'll give everybody about a minute or so, and then we're going to go ahead and start our webinar for today. The topic is how to prepare for a career transition. So just stay with us for a moment. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. And if a few folks join us, that will be fine as well. Again, welcome to the Hudson Valley Credit Union Career Series. My name is Dave Dirks. I'm Vice President of Marketing, and I'm pleased to have you and host you today. Very excited about our topic today, which is a new topic for us in this career series. I do want to do a couple of things before I even get into housekeeping. I want to explain why is Hudson Valley Credit Union undertaking this career series. One of the things that we've recognized with our members and people that are looking at us to maybe join us as a part of their banking, we recognize that having a strong and vibrant career is important to financial success for anyone at any point in their life cycle. So we decided to invest our time and resources and to bring in experts like our expert today to provide, whether you're a member or not, the ability to get the best information you can in terms of the various and multiple aspects of careers and career management and finding new careers. And we think that's very, very important. So as a financial institution in the Hudson Valley region, we wanted to take a leadership role in providing that, and that's why we're doing this series. I'll tell you from a housekeeping point of view, we received, thank you, of the many people that have registered for this event, lots of questions. Many of those questions are going to be answered through the presentation itself, and I'll get into that in a minute. And I just want to let you know that if you'd like to, you can, in the chat section, which is down at the bottom of the Zoom piece here, you can click on chat and you can actually send us your questions. So if you do have a question that you didn't send prior to or at the point of registration, no worries, you can send your question. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, so we're not going to answer any questions directly. You'll be on mute, so we won't necessarily be able to interact with you at that point anyway. But we'll definitely do our best to answer as many of your questions as possible, and to be able to do that within the next 45 minutes to an hour that we have you. And so let me talk a little bit about our topic today and our expert who's graciously providing her time today. By the way, this, if you didn't attend, and you're not here, obviously, right? We will be providing this on our Hudson Valley Credit Union YouTube channel. So post this actual presentation, this will be available for anyone to search online. So this will make it available to everybody. Let me talk to you today about our topic. It's a very important one. It's called How to Prepare for a Career Transition. I don't need to tell you, in this day and age of the Great Resignation, with people re-examining what they're doing in life and kind of talking and thinking out loud about, where am I going in my career? Am I in the right career? There's a lot around career transition. And our guest today is Karin Joy Whitley. She is a leadership and career coach, and she's been doing that for many years now and very successfully. She's been associated with the International Coaching Federation, as well as another group called BetterUp. Recently, Karin was designated as a premier fellow coach at BetterUp, one of the highest possible coaching distinctions that you can get based on member feedback and engagement. With over 15 years of career coaching experience at all levels in the workplace, from frontline employees to executives, in all areas of onboarding, career, and leadership, Karin is a very enthusiastic professional who thrives on empowering people and individuals to reach their highest potential, along with supporting career transitions. So today she'll be basically guiding you through a presentation that will cover many things. A couple of them will be what type of role will fulfill your aspirations, as you're kind of, some of you might be examining that. When to make the move. So like, when do I make that transition? What's the timing? How to ace the final interview, which is something that all of us could use. And of course, how to position yourself for success in your new role. Now, before I actually bring her on, I do want to do a little advertisement. I meant to do this before. You know, Hudson Valley Credit Union, we're one of the largest employers in the Hudson Valley region. I would be remiss if I didn't say that we have plenty of opportunities within our own organization. So a little advertisement here for us is, if you are interested in maybe perhaps checking out a financial services or a banking position, might be even interested in just checking it out. We have a whole host of positions across the organization that are very interesting. We happen to be one of the employers of note in the region. We're very progressive in terms of our ability to support our employees all the way around, not only with market competitive salaries, great benefits, but also things like tuition and reimbursement and programming that's designed internally to help employees grow and grow with the organization. We've got plenty of examples within our Hudson Valley Credit Union of people who've done very well for themselves in terms of progressively moved forward in their own careers. So enough on that. If you're interested in checking us out, go to hvcu.org and look at the career section. You'll be able to check us out there. All right, now, without further ado, let me introduce our presenter today, Karin Joy Whitley, who's going to talk to us about basically how to make a successful career transition. Karin, I'll turn it over to you.
Super. Thank you so much, David, for that wonderful introduction. And welcome, everyone. Really excited about sharing with you some real strong tips that can make a huge difference in your career. This webinar, if you haven't noticed already, is going to be interactive. And so you've received 4 reflection questions. When we get to those questions, I'm going to ask you to please click on chat and type in your answer, and we will kind of look at those answers and we'll talk a little bit about that. As far as your questions, if you can, during that time where we're really looking at posting answers to the reflection questions, I'd like you to hold with sending additional questions for at the end of the presentation, because then what's going to happen is they're going to mix with each other. So if you can hold and just jot down, and if we're at one of those reflection question times, please just answer through chat on the question that we're asking. Also, just to let you know, the PowerPoint presentation, again, just to affirm, it will be available to you. We will be leaving time for those questions at the end, but one of the last slides has my email address. And if you'd like to send me an email, love to hear from you afterwards with additional questions you might have, and also any successes that you kind of put into place from this webinar. I'd love to hear all about it. With that, I am going to refer to my notes periodically just to let you know, because they were great questions that many of you sent, and I really have threaded it into the PowerPoint presentation and want to make sure that I can answer those questions for you. So let's get started. What is your dream job? Do you even know? I think sometimes people go through their whole career life and don't even know what that dream job is. So hopefully we can zero in on that for you today. And then when you get an interview and you're on the final interview, and right now everyone knows there's so many positions open and there are many people like vying for the best that they can get as far as for their career. how do you land it? Like, how do you slam dunk it? And hopefully I'm going to give you that information. And then career transition. Many of us keep it all up here and we don't actually lay it out so that we can see it and plan it. So we're going to talk about planning your career transition once you land that job. And then the last thing is offboarding and onboarding. And I'm not quite sure if you've ever seen the word offboarding before, but we concentrate on the onboarding once we get into this other employer. But how are you doing with the transition for where you are currently, and how do you really offboard with integrity? First question. What work values motivate you in your current role? So right now, please go to the chat and I'll wait to see what we get. What work values motivate you in your current role? Anybody gonna take a stab? Good, thank you. Helping others, wonderful, Sarah, thank you. What else? It is difficult, isn't it, to come up with what are those work values? Anyone else? Just give you another minute or so. Creativity and autonomy. Wonderful, Julian. Thank you. Flexibility. Good. Yes. Solving problems. And here we go. Having freedom to close gaps. Constructive feedback. Wonderful. Anything else? These are wonderful. See, when you step back and start thinking about what is it that's really important to me on the job, we don't do that enough. We really don't step back and think about that. Supportive team. Anything else? Chance to mentor. Wonderful, Gail. Intellectual stimulation. Here we go. Starting to really think about what it is. Great. Love it. Love it. So when I coach clients and they ask that question, it's really hard to kind of grab what are those values. Just know that there are some things that are really important to you. So what I did was I created an exercise. It's a work values exercise. And I'm going to show you that right now. And here it is. So with this, I'm just going to make it a little smaller so you can see it, the whole thing. So what there are 20 values. And so like the intellectual stimulation, Dan, love it. It's not on the list. So what you would do is you would go through this values, you'd rank them 1 to 20. Now, one of them that's maybe 20 on the bottom of your list, cross it off, and then put in intellectual stimulation. And so what'll happen is it just kind of gets you thinking. The values, I believe, are most important in influencing my work behavior. And then what you do is you just number them. And then you take the 1 to 5 and you put it in this my top 5 work values. And then from there, what do you do? So let me show you what you do. You list your top 5 values and you put them everywhere. Like right now, these are mine and they're on my blotter because these are the things that are most important to me in the order. I need to be challenged. If I'm not challenged on the job, I get really bored and everything gets so monotonous and it just doesn't inspire me or motivate me. Creativity. I need creativity. So whatever I'm doing, I need to have some kind of creative juices that will make me do something creative. Accomplishment. I have to feel like I've really accomplished something on the job. Recognition. It's important to me. It just really is. Why? Because of the 5th one, contribution. I don't need recognition all the time, but what I need is I need to know I'm making the contribution. And if I'm not making the contribution, then I'm not feeling good about it. So these are my top 5. Now, what do you do with it? Well, someone had asked the question, what are the signs to know that maybe it's time to make a career transition? Here they are. If at least 3 of those top work values are not being met weekly, and they can be different ones, like maybe challenge and contribution and accomplishment or whatever, then you're feeling unfulfilled on the job. So when you go through that, what's the next thing you have to do? Well, you have to decide, do you need to have a one-on-one conversation with your manager to say, I'm starting to feel unfulfilled, and here are my top 5 work values. Number 1 is important to me, it's challenge. I need challenge. So how can we work together to get me on a project, have me do something that I can be challenged on the job? Because I know that's my number 1. So that's one of the things that you can do with it. There are many more, and we'll be touching with those work values throughout the rest of the presentation. So now we're on the next question. What prepared questions did you ask during your most recent interview? Then just go to the chat again, send me 1 question would be fine. Just you can give me, don't have to do the total question, just what topic did you address in your most recent interview? Okay, I'll be waiting for the response in the chat. And did you notice that it says prepared questions? What is a typical day like? Yes, it's a great question in this office. What is your company's culture? Yes. What else? Why is this position open? Yes. You don't know whether or not, is it somebody you're replacing? Is this a brand new position? What they feel are the best qualities of their work environment. Oh, these are wonderful questions. Absolutely. And while you're, attending, look at these questions for yourself. We will be touching some of these. Expectations. Yes. Yes. Let's see if we can get one more in before we go to the next slide. Anything else? These are wonderful questions. Good. Is this role hybrid or remote? Fabulous. At this point, that is a really important question to ask. What does the team feel is important to be successful? Wonderful. Many of the questions that you're asking are what questions, how questions, just leaving it open so that you can kind of get a feel. Great, great, great. All right, let's go to the next slide then. So here are 5 interviewing tips and questions. So do you see how I just took those top 5 values that you just looked at of mine, and I create questions at the end of the interview that incorporate them. Why? Because that's what's most important to me on the job. So if they can't answer those questions, or they don't answer it in the way that I feel like I'm going to be fulfilled, then this isn't the right organization for me. Now, 5, there's a lot. So maybe you don't do 5, maybe you do the top 3, depending, looking at the time and how the interview is going. If you're finding out they're trying to wind it up, then zero into at least your top 2 or 3. So what would be a question for me on challenge? So I would ask the question to my manager, if the hiring manager is there. So how would you challenge me on the job? It's really important to me. And if I feel like with what I'm doing, I really clicked in, I'm getting to know how to do the job, how are you going to continue to challenge me? Are there projects that I can be involved in? It's important. Next is creativity. I was a recruiter. I was in organization development. I did coaching. So I can use creativity in that aspect, but sometimes I needed more. So during my one-on-ones, I would ask my boss. I'd say, I'm not feeling creative here, and I need those juices flowing again. So be careful what you ask for, because then I ended up being in charge of the social committee and to the events and so forth. But I got my creativity juices flowing. So that was important to me. Okay, the second tip is visit the organization's website, prepare questions regarding their mission, vision, values, and purpose. The thing is this, I've interviewed, I can't even think about how many in 20 years that I was recruiting. And many people didn't even go to our website or knew what we did. It's just blows my mind. But mission, vision, values, and purpose, don't do them all. Pick one that really resonated with you. Like, you want to work for this company because you love their mission. So with that, thread in a question that maybe has to do with that, or just have a conversation. Or the values really resonated with you. And many organizations put values up there, but how have they really implemented or integrated those values in the organization for the culture? And someone had asked that question regarding the culture. They aren't just values that they just throw up on the website. They are values that they are embedded into their culture. So that would be a question that I would ask. Next, number 3, decide what is most important to you and ask the question. So if you have in your values advancement, then you're going to ask that question about advancement opportunities. If you want to grow and growth or learning is really important to you in your top values, then you're going to ask about professional development and the opportunities to grow and learn, an online university or whatever it is in the organization. Someone mentioned about day-to-day, what does a typical day look like? Absolutely, there it is right there, day-to-day responsibilities. And usually the value is accountability or responsibility, because that's really important to you. And then the reporting structure. If you're having a conversation in the interview and you are not connecting with one of the individuals, you need to find out, is that the person that you're going to be reporting to? Because if it is, maybe you might want to rethink whether or not this is the direction you want to go in with this company. Number 4, ask the interviewer the following questions. So again, watch your time. You don't need to ask all of these, but if your final interview is a panel, which most of the time it is, there are 4 individuals, they should introduce themselves and tell you how long they've been in the organization before they even ask you a question. If they don't, then you need to find out how long they've been there. Because if there's 4 individuals and all 4 of them are telling you 3 months, 6 months, 2 months, a month, there might be a little red flag there. Next, what's your favorite part of working here? They can't articulate that, then what's going on with the culture? And then the last is the reason for this opening, and someone did mention that in the chat. Absolutely. Remember I said to you, my number 1 is challenge. Many of the positions that I've accepted in my career, there wasn't a position. I created it. I made it happen. So there was no training manager. There wasn't even a solidified training department. They had me do that. That was fabulous. Loved it, sailed. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And then the last one is send a thank you note within 24 hours. You won't believe how many people don't. And so if it's between you and another person, that matters to me when I see that thank you note coming in. But here's the thing that some people might not put in their thank you note. And that is mention something you learned about the organization or the role, so that they know you really listen and that you're paying attention to the organization. Email is great, but handwritten is impressive. Now, I shared with you, I've been recruiting for 20 years. I can count on two hands how many handwritten notes I received, and majority of the time they did get the job because it went above and beyond. It was really taking that time. I know it's old school, but it really does make a difference. And just quickly share with you a story. I was a finalist in a company, and in the panel, I had four individuals. I had a COO, I had a VP, and it was of customer relations. I had my hiring manager, and I had an individual contributor. Each one of them received a thank you note from me with what they were looking for, what they needed from me, because I was doing organizational development and learning, all of those, and they received a thank you note from me. I got the position. Okay, we're going to the next one. Reflection question number 3. How did you design your most recent career transition plan? Might a handwritten note be hard to get delivered and tasted between USPS and doing away with internal mail? Good point, Gail. What I would say to you on that one is maybe send an email and then follow it up with that note, so it won't be, it'll take a couple of days to get there. So I would do that. Okay. All right, let's answer this question here. How did you design your most recent career transition plan? Or did you? Just give you a couple of seconds. See if anything comes. Here's the thing. Majority of us don't do it. We don't do the career transition plan. What we do is we keep it up here and we just kind of fly. Met with folks in the next role I wanted to move to. Great, okay? And that would be part of that plan that we're talking about. Anything else? Work in progress, that's why I'm here. Good, great, love it. Just starting the process now, love it. So I'm gonna show you a next slide, training programs, okay? Let me show you this next slide, and this is where I'm really going to go to my notes, because many of your questions had to do with what's in this career transition plan. So let's take a look at it together. And remember, all of this is going to be accessible to you at the end of this webinar. Okay, so here it is. Now, if you're a person that likes the Post-it notes that we just saw and you like to do a flow chart, that works. If you're an Excel spreadsheet or connoisseur, you love that, create it on that. If you love to do it on PowerPoint and like to connect everything, fine. If you need to do a timeline, if you have a whiteboard, do it on that, do it on a piece of paper, whatever it is that works for you, but get it visible, okay? So Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Begin with the end in mind, so set a target date. And as you can see, I said 6 to 9 months. Why? Because once you start to apply for positions, it takes 3 months to 6 months to make the change, sometimes even 9. So set what you think is really doable. Are you working currently? Because if you are, then you want to push out probably to 9 months, because you're looking at job openings while you're working full time, and it's difficult. So I would push it out. But you also can see I put month, date, year, because many of us will just say, well, 6 months. December 31st, 2022. As soon as you do that, you put your feet to the fire. Okay, now you're going to work your way backwards when you put out that timeline. And now set little tick marks and where you want to be if you're going to do it in a timeline situation. Okay, next one. Research desired roles in companies. So that was one of the questions. So that's where I'm going to refer to my notes here. One person asked, how about retirees? Well, if you go to Google and you put employment for retirees near me, I did that. There was over 100 because they're usually part-time positions. And you don't need the benefits because you're in Medicare. So that's something to think about, okay? There's also a site called Job Hat, and I didn't have it in the resources, so if you want to write that down, you can. Career guidance, some of you asked about that. So if you type in career guidance services in Google, you'll get a list. Career coaches are wonderful and helpful. Just alumni of a college that you graduated from, tap in on them. Any of those would be helpful, okay? Also, you need to decide small company, mid-size, large company. Think about it when you were going to college and you were trying to decide where you wanted to go. Small, mid-size, large. What's your best place where you can thrive? Then that's where you're going to start doing the research. Companies near you, are you going to commute? Do you want to do remote? All of those things are things that you're going to use to search to find out that information. Okay. Next, create a timeline with milestones, which I started to share with you on that. Resume and cover letter completion. Okay, I had a question with someone asking me about what's like the trends on resume writing. This is a source that's not listed, myperfectresume.com. Of course, they're going to want you to get you to a one point and then you have to get a subscription. But before you get to subscription, there's a lot of information that's really helpful. So it really hasn't changed a whole lot. It's basically putting the summary or your professional qualifications at the top, and then skills. And also that summary has to relate to the job you're applying for. So I have a coach resume. I have an organizational development resume, and I have a resume that has to do with training. Those three, and then I work off of that. And then I make any tweaks that I can regarding that. Those are the three areas. As far as recruiting, usually recruiting ties into, I don't know, sometimes if it's just all recruiting, I create another one for that. So keep that in mind. Also, I hate to admit this, but I was working the last company I worked for, I had 35 open positions. How long, I'm going to ask you to go and chat. How long do you think I looked at that resume? Give it to me in minutes or seconds. Anybody want to take a stab? 1 minute, 5 minutes, 1 minute. Anybody else want it? Less than a minute? 15 seconds. I love it. Oh, I have to admit, less than a minute. Less than a minute. Where did I go first? My eyes go right away to the professional qualifications. Okay. I see that. If I can't extract what the core of the job is from your resume there and the job skills, I just stop. Okay. So you have to grab them right there, and then you'll start going through your resume and take a look at it. All right. 2 minutes. 2 minutes to 5 minutes, sometimes even longer. Once I see that your professional qualifications really kind of align with the role, then I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep looking. Okay. Please don't put references upon request. We know that it's old school. Get rid of it. And up at the top, you should have your LinkedIn profile. your link should be right there, and of course your email address. Okay, there was someone who asked a question about, say, skills like operations and projects or something that they really love. That would be something that I would look for jobs that have to do that and put it in your professional summary on that. And let's talk about cover letters. Go online. You can type in examples of cover letters, take a look at them. I'm not going to read 2 pages of a cover letter. I'm going to read probably this much of a cover letter, get to exactly what you want to say, what makes you unique. What could you tie in? Your work values. Okay. And I think that's it on the resume. Completing the application. If they're asking for cover letters, very few people take the time to do that. That's going to bring you up to the top, which you want. And then follow up. When do you follow up? If you're probably going to get that standard, we received your resume, yada, yada, yada. I give it 2 weeks. Then I would try to see if I could reach out. Sometimes it's hard because you can't figure out where, but you know the company. So try to see if you can go in and delve into HR or wherever you can. Maybe it's an applicant tracking system and you can go back and see if you can connect with them somehow. Don't keep sending it over and over and over again because it looks like you're really at a point where you're desperate. That's not a good idea. Okay. Build your professional brand. So someone had asked, what are the traits for a really strong candidate? I am on LinkedIn with HR and recruiting professionals. About a month ago, I was asked to take a very quick survey from the leadership circle. And they had over 3,000 survey responses. And here is the percentages. Attitude, 70%. Years of experience, 3%. Growth potential, 23%. Hard skills, 4%. So the question was, what's most important to you when you're looking at candidates and you're interviewing them? What is like really important to you? 70% was attitude. And then growth potential. So keep that in mind. Okay. Next, connect with your network. If you are looking, you should have a LinkedIn profile and you should have your picture. If you're giving an icon, you need to have a picture. So put that picture up there for LinkedIn. It is so important, especially if you're in sales, marketing. To me, in any profession, you should have a LinkedIn profile. And when people ask to be a part of you, some people are using that and trying to get in for marketing. And sometimes I'll reach out and say, yes, and connect with them. And then they do that. And then I just discard them. But it's really important to have a LinkedIn profile. I can't stress it enough, because here's what you're going to do. Once you decide where you want to work, what jobs you want to apply for, you're going to be doing searches on LinkedIn. And you're going to be doing searches of the name of the company, people who worked there. And then my suggestion is, if it's a job you really want, then you're going to reach out to those contacts of that company and you're going to say, I see that you've been working for XYZ company for the past year. I have I'm thinking of making a career change. Here are 3 questions that I'd love you to be able to answer for me. Or if you have some time, if we can chat for 10 minutes and I could do a fact finding session with you. You'll surprise yourself how many people will respond. Okay. When I'm coaching, I find that the individuals who want like really Fortune 500 companies, you have to have a really strong network. And if you do, you have a really good opportunity of at least starting to get your foot in the door. Okay. Next, applying online, prep for your interview, submit resignation. How long? Well, if you are an individual contributor, I say 2 weeks. If you are a manager, you're managing people or managing projects, I'm going to say 2 to 4. And if you are a director or all the way up to C-suite, I'm going to say to you 4 to 6 weeks. And then once you complete all of this, as you can see, I have written down, discuss offboarding. And that's a conversation that you will have with your boss once you hand in your resignation. So with that, we'll go to the next question. Offboarding. Okay, so we just talked about how long you should give notice, okay? And then put together a list of your current projects and responsibilities. I think some of us forget that our bosses are really busy and many of them are boots to the ground and they forget all the things that you do. So for you to be able to do that for them is extremely helpful. Here's that offboarding with integrity piece. So when you have that conversation and you hand off your resignation letter, you sit down and you say, I'd like to have a conversation now with you so I can help with the offboarding. So that's one of them. Discuss who you're going to hand off what to. So for me, I was doing coaching, I was doing recruiting, I was doing organizational development work, I was doing the new hire orientation, I was doing a lot of different pieces. So I needed to know, who am I going to train on this? Who am I going to hand this off to? That brings me to the formulated training schedule. So then I talked to my boss to find out, okay, when would be, who should be the one, and when should I do this in the next couple of weeks that I'm here. Clean up your file folders, electronic and hard copy. Most people are electronic at this point. The thing is, you're so busy, you're probably working so hard. I don't know about you, but my files were a mess. I wasn't going to leave it that way. So I created file folders and got rid of a lot of versions and things like that and got it nice and clean. Slowly take home personal items. When I say that, it's because if you've been in this organization for more than 3 years or so, you've created bonding with and relationships with individuals, your coworkers. And you're excited because you're starting a new chapter. They're not excited. They're staying where they are. So slowly take those things out so it doesn't look like 1 minute you're like, on the job with all this stuff, and on the next thing you have nothing on your desk. Many of you work remotely, so this wouldn't be an issue. Set aside books, training materials. If you've been in the organization for a long period of time, you've had trainings, you've maybe in the past before COVID, you went out to conferences, grab that. That's for you. Take it with you. And then I made recordings of my training for a future access, because maybe the person that is taking on some of my work responsibilities is going to leave in the next month or so. And so I really want to make sure that there's that handoff. Set up time on your calendar the last week to have coffee, lunch with coworkers. Those are the individuals that you bonded with. That's really important to do that. Here's the thing that I've learned through my career when I've left a company. If you are really close with a coworker, it's your responsibility to reach out to them after you've left the company, because their life didn't change, but yours did. Prepare for your exit interview and be professional about it. If they ask you, don't start bashing the company. You are burning your bridge, and you never know when you might have to circle back around and come back into the organization again if you wanted to come back and there was a position open that intrigued you or was aligned to your values. And then assist HR in sharing passwords, handing off electronic devices, keys, all that kind of stuff. Just, you take that initiative. You say, when would you like that? The day that I leave? What time should I bring everything to you? And that's offboarding. Okay, next question. This is the last question. How have you taken an active role in your onboarding? So when you came on to this job that you're in right now currently, how did you take an active role? And I'll be watching the chat. Okay. How have you taken an active role in your onboarding? So interesting, because so many companies don't have an onboarding program. They do spend so much money on advertising, interviewing, so many people taking time away, all that costs money. And then when they finally get somebody in that position, they don't have an onboarding program. And so I don't see anything coming through. So I'm going to move forward. Oh, here we go. Initiated contact with immediate team members and as many peripheral support team as possible. Great. Beautiful. Yes. We have one here. Yay, Dave. Love to see that. Wonderful. And remember, Dave gave a promotion. There are open positions at HBCU. So you might want to take a look at that at the end of this presentation. Great. Love to see that you do have an onboarding program. That's wonderful. So let me show you what I think is a really good onboarding. That was one of my responsibilities. Did onboarding coaching for director levels up and help them with that transition. And then I created onboarding schedules with the hiring manager so that they would get a chance to meet the immediate team members, Gail, and any of the support team members. All of that is really important, especially that first week. Okay, let's go on. So when you see learning stage, that's 30 days, up to 1 to 30, and then credibility stage, 31 to 60, transformation stage, 61 to 90. And so it's learning, credibility stage, transformation stage, learning, doing, being in that role, okay? So the learning stage. So here is what's really important. Establish what are those deliverables from your boss. Many times you go through the job description, but you don't know actually what it is expected of you in those first 30 days. That's really important. Learn about the department and the company goals, because you should have goals, individual goals, right? So it's individual goals, roll up to department goals, roll up to the organization's goals. So you need to know how you're contributing to that. You will most likely have compliance training, things that you have to know, job requirements, certain software, all of that. That's really important on those first 30 days, and build those relationships, which Gail, you were doing, which is terrific. Credibility stage, okay? Now you have to demonstrate tangible results. So you have to get what I call an early win. So to identify the challenges and the opportunities. You are fresh eyes. That's really important. They need you to kind of see something that they're not seeing because they've been in the organization so long, they're not seeing it anymore, but you can. And you bring your experiences with you. So with that, see if you can take an initiative for an early win. What does that mean? That means you're seeing something that's outside of what the expectations are that could streamline something, save time, reduce cost, whatever it is, and have a conversation with your boss and see whether or not you can take that and make it an early win. And you'll get visibility, which is really important. And then identify who the key leaders and alliances are. And then the 61 to 90, contribute to projects by sharing possible solutions and become involved in organization social activities. And of course, I put that there because I think it's really important. I think it's important for individuals, the teams to see you. You really want to be a team member. Get to know the other or the departments. It's really important. Hard though when you're large. I get it. you're not in the organization, so it's not as easy, but anything you can do to, either get on Slack or whatever, that would be helpful. And know that the learning stage sometimes flows into the credibility stage, flows into the transformation stage, which flows again into the 120. So here are two supporting documents for you. First one is this one. And this is a 30, 60, 90 onboarding plan. And here you'll just see some bullets to help you understand what it is that you need to focus in on. There's pretty much what's on the slide, but a few extra things there. And then if we go to the 120 days onboarding questions, these are questions for you to ask your manager. And here's the thing regarding your manager. When you are onboarding, take that active role to get to know your manager. One of the first questions I ask first couple of days is, how would you like me to communicate with you? What's most important to you? Is it email you go to first? Do you go to your phone first? Do you want me to text you? What's really important to you? Because everyone has something different, okay? And also pay attention to what's on the desk if you're in the office. If you're not in the office, find out what's behind them. Like you say, you have flowers. Yes, I love flowers. So, whatever you can do to just start a conversation. You don't need to get really personal, but find a commonality so that you can create a relationship. It's really important. Some managers have difficulty with that. So see if you can kind of help with that. And then here are some questions to reflect on and have a conversation with your manager. What was your greatest vulnerability in your new role? So share that. I found that I just felt really vulnerable in regarding talking to this department, and then they can help you with that, bridging that. Okay, so any of those types of things are there for you. And I'm watching the time because I know that we want to have some questions. So here's, oops, sorry about that. So here's what I have. Find your joy and passions and live them. This is me, what you see. I love focusing in on what's really important to me. When did I leave organizations? I did when those values weren't met. At the time, when I first started my early career, I didn't know that there were actual values, but I just knew things just weren't right. And I felt like I was giving a lot of me, and I really wasn't getting that reciprocal back. And so I just knew it just wasn't the right place for me anymore. I needed to really feel like I was making a difference, and I wasn't. And there's that piece of contribution that was part of my values. So with that, it really is important to find your joy and passions. And through COVID, didn't we all learn that life is short and you want to enjoy going to work every day? Can't every day, but majority of the time, you want to really enjoy what you do. So here are the resources. I did add a couple of them through the webinar. And at the bottom is my email address. If you want to connect with me, please feel comfortable to do that if you don't get your questions answered. And at this point, I'm going to hand back off to Dave.
Well, Karin, that was excellent. I was really listening, and I'm hoping, I'm sure everybody got plenty of great, what we call golden nuggets throughout your presentation. So really appreciate you taking the time to share your expertise and your insights with us on a critical topic, especially in career management. I do want to remind folks that you have an opportunity now we have a few minutes left. If you'd like to, Karin can see your questions just as well as I can. So if you have any last minute questions, don't be afraid to send them to us now in the chat. And of course, Karin, if you want to go back to your email, maybe we'll go back to that slide. People
Sure.
can make a note of your email address. You'd be happy to, if you want to reach out to Karin directly and have a question. She's very graciously offered to provide that as well. I see there is a question coming through there. I don't know. Do you want to take it? It says, taking initiative, fresh eyes. How do you point out things people have missed without stepping on toes? And of course, this is part of the onboarding. Yeah. Very good.
That's really great. That's really great. Thank you. And one of the other things I did forget was imposter syndrome, and I do want to quickly talk about that too. But yes, okay, so I agree. One of the things that I share with everyone is it's all about the pacing. And I didn't say that, but it's on that document for you on the 30, 60, 90. So it is all about the pacing, and you'll know when it's right to kind of see that. What happens is you kind of hear that everybody's getting really frustrated. And so my first suggestion is to go to your manager. Just say, there's something I'm seeing that I'd like to make a suggestion. This could be helpful. So I'm just kind of throwing out there, and I'd love to be a part of making that happen. So that's how I would first begin on that. Also, somebody asked about the white collar and the blue collar. I saw that question in there about, making that transition from one to the other. Very true. So here's the thing, the skills that you have, you need to show that they're transferable. So if you're going from blue collar to a white collar, you need to show the things that you have done that will really resonate and be effective in the role that you're applying for. And that needs to be in that professional summary right at the top. So that would be my recommendation there. And then the person that asked me the question about imposter syndrome, and they asked if it was common, and it is getting more common as I'm coaching. Many of my clients, it's one of the things they want to work on. So why? What's going on with that? And what does that really mean? Well, what's going on with all of that is this. We have too many open positions, and people are feeling like they are really going to have to be like upping their game and being super when it comes to those final interviews. And now you get the job. And now you feel like the expectations are like way up here. And you're afraid that they're going to find out that you're a fake, or that you can't meet those expectations. And so what you fall into is what's called an imposter syndrome, which is you're feeling like once they find out that you really can't do this job, oh my God, they're going to have you out the door. The positive thing about you thinking that you're there is that you care. You care about your quality. You care about being effective. You care about contributing to the company. The negative thing is you're getting to the point where you feel like you're a perfectionist. You're not even giving yourself time. Many times it happens in the first 90 days because you want to hurry up and contribute to whatever, and you can't because you're still putting your arms around the learning piece. And so what happens is you're like beating yourself on the head, and you got to cut yourself some slack. So how do you get past it? You get past it by affirmations, knowing you, so self-awareness, building your confidence. So you kind of say to yourself, I got this. I can do this role. Focus in on your strengths. Focus in on your values, what's really important to you. And will you fall into it sometimes? Sure you will. You'll fall into it, but it's okay. We all do. I think we all have that part of ourselves that lacks that confidence. I mean, I was doing this presentation for you, and I started to go into the imposter syndrome, and then all of a sudden I saw it come in as a question, and it just made me laugh. So we all do that.
Excellent. And listen, we only have time for one more question. We got two great questions, though. And Elizabeth, your question on salary negotiation, which we could probably do a webinar just on that alone. If you want, Elizabeth, I would send that question directly to Joy via her email, and she perhaps can give you some guidance there. So thank you for that, Elizabeth. Sure. But I would like to focus the last question on something Allison sent in saying, do you have any, she's looking to make a complete industry change, like a real big change here, a 180, I guess you'd call it. And she wanted to know, do you have any recommendations for websites or videos or other resources for someone like that that's facing that?
And I'd love you to send that also to me, because off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to send you those resources, but I'm going to share with you this. In my career, I was a professional dancer to start. Then I went to recruiting for Kelly Services. Then I went to a direct mail order company for customer service. Then I went to natural gas company. Then I went to addiction treatment. and I ended my career, my full-time career in the health industry. So I've transitioned in so many different industries. How did I do it? I made sure to look at what really I could extract that I knew that I could transfer. And that, when I did that and highlighted it in my professional summary, I mean, many of them would have me come in and just say, your resume is extremely eclectic. How did you get from dancing to training? Or how did you get from training to coaching? But it intrigued them enough for them to have me come in. But please send me that email, and I will see what I can do for you to give you some key pointers.
That's great. Well, I have a very complex question indeed, but a great one. So I want to thank, unfortunately, we can't take any more questions, but I do want to thank all of you taking time out of your day to join us with Karin Joy Whitley. And Karin, you've done a great job. Much appreciate your insights and advice on a topic that's always an interesting and dynamic topic to talk about. Thank you, Karin, for all your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you all. This will be available on YouTube. If you attend, you'll still get a link to it. So we appreciate it. HVCU, remember, we've got plenty of career opportunities in a great organization. We'd be welcome to talk to you about anything that we have. Go to hvcu.org, check out the career section, and you'll be able to kind of get a really good idea of all the opportunities we have right here for you as well. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.